Welcome to the Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. So that's the name, right? Yeah, that is the name.
The Blatantly Biased Racing Podcast. Now here's a bald guy and some Indian.
Welcome, guys. This is the season review, and well, there's good news or bad news or news. If you are a Red Bull fan, Helmut Marko is gone. Guys, let's begin. Let's talk about Helmut Marko before we review the season and how it's been. Josh, welcome. We cannot see you. Hopefully we can hear you. Please fix your fucking internet. But let's begin. What's your first take on, Helmut Marko and his legacy being part of Formula One since we were kids? To be honest, throughout my life, there are two people who have always been old when I've seen Formula One. It's Bernie and Helmut. He's one of them. But yeah, what's your view on what would be his legacy in your view?
Legacy, well, if I'm being totally fair, he did serve the foundations of the Red Bull Junior team, dating back to his time running RSM Marco. So that's a nice thing to say about him. He won Le Mans too. Beyond that, if we're talking about his time at Red Bull, there's 2 points of view you can have, which is that he shaped Red Bull for the large part to what it has become, drafted in some of its most important drivers, which is inescapable. He did bring in Max Verstappen after all, but then again, back then, everybody kind of knew what Max Verstappen was in karting, just virtually indomitable. So, and was challenging for the title in his first ever season of racing. So it's just like, wow, you picked him out of a lineup. Good for you. Otherwise, there's been quite a lot that you cannot say too well about him, especially the last few months where you look at some of his decision making, and it's just like, yeah, not the greatest. And of course, there are some of the things that he says, which I know is popcorn the kettle black coming from my end. Oh, you say erroneous things. Oh yeah. What about you, Josh? Honestly, it depends upon how you view things, but Red Bull's going to be different now, for better or for worse.
Yeah. Ed?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's been hundreds of drivers coming through that Red Bull Junior program, and at least it was better than Danny Sullivan's attempts to make a Red Bull Junior team with the American version in the very early 2000s. At least it was better than that, I suppose. And I mean, he has brought Verstappen through. He poached him from Mercedes. He's brought Vettel through. He's brought all those guys through. And there are some obvious positives to him. But I mean, when you have a driver policy of throwing shit at the wall until it sticks, you're going to have some good moments. So, yeah, I think overall, he's obviously part of that core of that Red Bull team that has now disappeared, Horner, Newey, and himself. And I think that Red Bull will, in 2025, they can do just fine without him. But maybe if his decision had come 10, 20 years ago, that wouldn't have been the case.
Jay?
Yeah, I mean, look, Helmut Marko did some good things like hiring Horner, but he's like, his legacy in Red Bull obviously is he brought that team together in many ways. Like, Dietrich used him as kind of his racing arm. So I think, like, you have to give him enormous credit up until kind of 2016 and hiring Max. I think since 2016 and hiring Max, he's probably been about as good at selecting drivers as he has been at passing geography or vision tests. But other than that, like, yeah, sorry, couldn't help it.
You can really see the talent.
Yeah. Definitely if they're coming from the left, not if they're coming from the right. No, look, he's been spectacular up until that point. But I think in the past 10 years, he hasn't really brought much apart from just chaos and problems. And I'm kind of like... Potential lawsuits, putting Mexico into South America, all of these brilliant things he's done. Look, I think it was time for him to go. The only thing I would say is I'm quite sad about the fact that this does mean it is kind of the last nail in the coffin that is Red Bull for me. Like, this is no longer the same. This is about as similar a Red Bull now as McLaren is to like Ron Dennis's Red Bull. Like, we're basically looking at a whole new team going forward.
Yeah.
Maybe less so, but it's getting to that point. And I think it's going to be, I think this now will be the last kind of piece of Red Bull starting to switch. We just need to wait to see where Horner goes, and I think you're going to start seeing more and more of an exodus, and also it's board run now, and that always goes well, so we'll see.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I did a clip on this thing as well. I was just looking through his career, and it's been if we are very Formula One specific, he was the one who was pivotal in hiring Horner, Vettel, Daniel Ricciardo, Max as well. I mean, at the end of the day, he did bring him on. The thing is, when you talk about Helmut's career and his legacy, his legacy is being pivotal in taking Red Bull Racing from the ground to being a racing juggernaut that won for 4 consecutive years from 2010 to 2013. Then again, playing a pivotal role from 2021 till 2024. When they won 4 consecutive drivers' championships again. Other than that, his one area where Vettel kind of talks about how he was important was keeping the drivers on an even keel. In terms of when Vettel was in an intense title battle in 2010 and 2012, there was one voice in the pit, you can say within the team, who would take the heat from the media. Vettel didn't have to do that, and at the same time who was there backing him and pushing him forward. Now when Vettel moved to Ferrari, that was one area where he did feel a bit alone. He was the one who was shoved in front of the media and basically made to take all the blame and stuff like that. Even when it came to Max in 2021, that's probably the time when, at least when I've seen media targeting a driver as much as possible. And even then you had Marco and Horner kind of being the shield for the driver. That's the good part when it comes to.
So you're saying
Helmut.
he's the Lee Harvey Oswald of Red Bull?
I'm not even going there. That's the good bit when it comes to Helmut. Now when we're talking about the bad bit, I think first of all the nonsense that comes from his mouth. The problem is he's 80, and in early 2010s when I first encountered Marco, that was at that time the argument was he's in his 70s. So the problem is he continues to get older and continues to be more and more outrageous with his comments and stuff that are probably out of line and out of time. The opinions that he had. The biggest problem and probably the biggest blemish on his career is going to be the fact that he leaves Red Bull Racing broken. The Red Bull Racing that he built, the DNA that was there, in the last 2 years, he's made sure that the entire DNA is damaged. Horner is gone. He played a pivotal role in that. And what Red Bull Racing was known for during the time they won, it was being Mavericks. It was a team that was pretty ruthless and left nothing on the table. We are already seeing that change with the board taking over and stuff happening.
It's being run by a steering committee now, which is
Pretty
the
much.
funniest thing I've ever heard.
Exactly. And once this is going, and ultimately Marco was the architect of building Red Bull Racing and ultimately breaking Red Bull Racing as well. I don't see a bright future, at least for now. I am slightly skeptical in the way they're going. But yeah, you build something and by the time you're gone, you break the house down. That's your legacy.
On the
end
plus
of the day.
side, though, he did ensure that famed Australian Liam Lawson kept a seat. So that's good.
Oh.
Don't
He's a
you
Kiwi.
dare. No, actually, no. Come to think of it, with how he's performed this year, yeah, we'll relinquish him to the Aussies.
Liam is
You'll
fine.
swap him for Piastri.
You're
I'm
being
guessing.
too harsh.
He was fine, but he's just fine.
I mean, just
He lost the past of it.
I look at Iwasa and I'm like, I want you to have a go. Then I see him trying to snare Ollie the Bear Behrman into the barrier last weekend. It's like, your racecraft is magnificent, isn't it? But we're getting a bit too ahead of ourselves, aren't we?
To be honest, look, he lost a part of his soul in the first 2 races at Red Bull. After that, we're basically looking at a broken version of Liam Lawson right now.
F1
I mean,
drivers
maybe-
have souls.
Yeah.
They're from South
Someday.
Korea, maybe.
Yeah, from South Korea. Anyways, so I don't know there's much to talk about Marco. I think honestly it's good riddance. If I'm being this blunt, it's good riddance. It's fine. He's been a bit of a menace in the last couple of years. The political nonsense, it's something you didn't expect.
Him being
It is what
gone,
it is.
I don't think anyone really is that bothered about. It's the fact that it kind of aligns with, oh, Red Bull is kind of over now, like as we know it, you know.
Yeah,
That's the sadder part about it,
exactly.
you know.
Cool. Now let's jump to the the season review,
Season
the 2025 F1 season. So before we start with that, a bit of a verdict when it comes to the ground effect era. We've had 4 years from 2022 to 2025, and I've seen the opinions split a bit, at least on social media, like usual. But what's your view when it comes to how would you look back at this era in general, Nidzo?
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit. Is how I'd pretty much put it. Like, it was inconsistent. When it delivered, it delivered. But when it didn't deliver, it definitely didn't deliver. The over-reliance on DRS, the cars being too aerodynamically efficient to the point where at the fastest and longest straight circuits you can't overtake, like Monza. Yeah, that did kind of kill a lot of the racing, especially in the later years. It started off well, like the half title battle in 2022. That was good, and I mean like, as much as we like to laugh about how this season's transpired, it was a three-way title battle, even if only for the last third of the season. So it's not all bad, but it's not all good at the same time. I'd definitely much rather watch the entire of the ground effect era over the average season in the turbo hybrid era, the previous turbo hybrid era, the skinny and the 2017 to 2021 era. And yeah, it's not bad, but it's not great.
Josh?
Yeah. I can't add too much more to that because, again, like, depends upon when exactly you adjudicate this from. Like, the early part of 2022 was tremendous. Although I don't know if that was just, you know, Max and Charles racing being just pure nirvana. And then, of course, things got torpedoed in some way, shape, or form. You could put that down to whinging from other teams to change rulings or Ferrari being themselves. Either way, beyond that, as Nezo just said about all the issues that we had around racing, it just sort of it deflated all the hope that we had for some good racing, especially after we had those cars which were incredible to watch on one lap, but were horrendous in racing, and we were going to get these new regs. It's like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And for most of the time, it was just, fraught with problems. So, but we're leaving these regs, we're going into the new ones, and it's like, is it going to be better? I don't know. Because
Oh, yeah.
it seems that every new set of regs that comes in, not just in F1, but racing as a whole, we just keep on hearing about, like, if we hear a few problems about it, it's generally going to end up being atrocious when it arrives. But we've been hearing plenty of issues about these newer regs. It's like, oh, what are we in for? A Lance Stroll championship? So we're going to have to see what happens. Either way, the regs that just came, neither here nor there. Lots of promise, didn't quite deliver on what could have been.
Yeah, I kind of thinking, like, to add to that, kind of thinking the same. Like, I mean, it was an improvement on the regulations before it, in my view, and anyone who doesn't think so is crazy, because I just remember so many times it was like, you have to attack now because in 3 laps time everything will be overheating and you'll have to drop back, and that'll be that. We didn't get that as much in this regulation set. Like, they were able to follow for a lot longer, but I feel like it was a missed opportunity because, you know, the first season we saw that they could actually race to an extent. Mainly that's because the teams hadn't caught up on downforce and so on. Second season, you know, obviously Max dominated, but that was more everyone else had done a poor job, and to be fair, you know. But I still feel like even through the mid-season, like even behind Max, if you just forgot Max existed that season, we got some spectacular racing in 2023. And then they kind of just stopped policing the downforce and let them put whatever they wanted on the car again. And in 2024, we basically, and into 2025, we got to this point where the field spread was actually so close, like way closer than it had been in, well, as long as I can remember anyway, in terms of like, you know, from start to finish of the grid, everyone was quite close. This season, it's been incredibly close. But because they weren't policing, you know, the amount of like downforce trickery and stuff the teams were putting on to play with the airflow, we got these cars that were incredibly close and yet couldn't overtake because there was still too much dirty air, not enough slipstream, all these different things. And it feels like a missed opportunity. And I'm kind of a little bit concerned that we're going into a reset instead of building on that. But I know there's other reason for that. But genuinely, I think it's been a good set of regulations. I just feel like there's lots of missed opportunities in this one as well. But it hasn't been that bad. We've got 3 out of 4 seasons? How many seasons have there been? 22, 23, 24? 4 seasons. We've had 3 of those have had a title fight. Even if it hasn't been like a spectacular title fight.
Fights?
Like, well, 2020... I mean, last year there was technically a title fight.
Yes,
it was
two,
always
right?
like
24,
2022.
Exactly.
2022
was not a buy. It was
there was a title
self-immolation.
fight at the
22,
start.
was good for the first 5 minutes.
Exactly.
I'll give you that.
2022 was a 2017, you know? Like...
No,
2024 was 2024. If Lando was how he was in the second half of this season, that would have been a tremendous
And if McLaren
run to the
hadn't been
end.
shit.
Yeah. Well, tomato.
But yeah, look, my point is we've had at least 3 seasons of the 4 where at some point there's been some sort of jeopardy of a title. Whereas if you compare that to the previous regulation set, it just wasn't the case, you know?
Yeah. So I think for me, it seems... Look, there's a good side and the bad side as usual. But the good side for me was
Like this
first,
podcast. You're the bad side.
Yeah, sure. The first few races in 2022, for me, still to this day, it's been almost 2 decades I've been following Formula One. The race in Saudi Arabia, the 2022 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, that's still the kind of wheel-to-wheel battle we saw and the jeopardy involved and everything that's still top class. And we don't really see that often. And we're probably not going to see it in the future as well. I don't really have that many hopes. I think the problem that came with these regulations was when teams are not able to, let's say, catch up with Red Bull to a certain extent, we started working on the aerodynamic development on the body. If you look at the mule cars and initially the way FIA wanted these cars to be, and you look at what they became, it's a night and day difference in terms of what they ended up becoming. And once that happened, I think at that point, if both F1 and the FIA were proactive enough, they should have focused on Pirelli not producing tires where basically the soft tire lasts the entire race. They need to have more degradation in tires, which is where I think they kind of fucked up. There are races this season as well. You can look at Imola, where you had tires that ultimately yielded at least a couple of pit stops. If you have that kind of strategic variability, it makes racing better. But we didn't really have that, and I think the laziness when it comes to FOM, when it comes to the product that they're putting together, focusing too much on the driver girlfriends and wives, maybe that fucked things up for them, at least when it comes to the on-track product. And that's one side of it. The bad side for me, and I think it's serious and it needs to be looked at, almost every driver has complained about having back issues. Every driver. And because these cars are running too low to the ground. And anything is fine. I mean, in racing or in any other athletics, there are issues, but back should not be their focus. I mean, from someone who's chronically had back issues, I sympathize with anyone who has them. And a sport should not be targeting that part of the body, at least in my view. So maybe we move to a slightly different regulation. Let's see how it goes. I think we are looking at basically a papering over of cracks when it comes to 2026. Let's see what racing it brings, at least for now.
Yeah.
Overall, though, would you say it is... I think for me, it's a bit of a letdown because 2022 promised a lot. The first few races promised too much, and then we didn't really have anything going for us. Yeah, and that way it was a bit disappointing because the sport was able to deliver on the shrinking of the field split, which is impressive. But if you don't bring strategic variability into that, it kind of screws things up. So yeah, that's my take on the whole thing. Now let's jump to the season. First of all, your biggest takeaway, because I think everyone, once the season is gone, there's at least one lasting takeaway for everyone. Josh, what's your biggest takeaway from the 2025 F1 season?
I'm not really sure. I think the thing that first comes to mind is that Max Verstappen might be good. Really? Which I think, red hot take, I know. And it's a weird thing, really, that Lando became the champion. I know people give him crap over, the campaign, saying it was horrendous. First half of the season was terrible. And there are people who are saying, he didn't bottle that much. It's just like, look, this is not meant to be an outright criticism of Lando to diminish his abilities. It's the fact that he has the ability to be as good as he is, but he never fulfilled it, and he dragged out a championship which should have been over before Vegas, and it wound up being a case where he damn nearly lost the championship at the end to a dude who, by Austria, flat out said, "It's over. I'm not in contention for the championship." In the second half, he did that, and he got to a place where he wasn't making as many mistakes. It's like, yeah, there we go. But yeah, that's the thing. Max, he brought it every time, except for that one head loss incident in Barcelona. And even that's sort of just like, find me a season where a driver was completely faultless from beginning to end, no mistakes, no whatever. But it was nearly that for Max this year. And you ask the majority of people, and they'll laud Max's season rather than give appreciation to Lando. Whereas I think, really, it should be a case where we can do both. We can appreciate Lando for getting that championship. He is a worthy champion. I don't like this thing of, undeserving champion, unworthy champion, whatever. Rubbish, give me a break. No one is undeserving of a world championship. Sure, maybe one's deserved it more, Would we say Jody Scheckter is could have been a better world champion than Gilles Villeneuve? At the end, he got the job done, so we got to appreciate it for that. But we can also say that Max's season was special. So, yeah, there's a couple of things to take out of that, I guess, is that Lando was a worthy world champion, but that this season from Max is one for the ages.
Ned?
Yeah, as to Josh's point of no one's ever had a perfect season, I'd just like to point you to Jim Clark in 1963 and 65 and Fangio in 1955. But aside
I'll shut up.
Yeah, but aside from that, yeah, I think my main takeaway is that the car doesn't or isn't always the most dominating factor of performance of a driver and car combination. We've seen that not just with Verstappen, but with other drivers like, for example, Behrman, who has pulled out, especially at the end of the season, pulled out some heroic drives. We've seen it with so many other drivers, even guys like Stroll, Sainz, coming out of the ether and just putting in great performances.
Wait, what? Wait. You said, did I hear that correctly, or was there a glitch or something?
What?
Did he just say that Stroll coming out and putting together a drive that the car didn't deserve?
Britain, Zandvoort.
Britain was not him putting together a drive that the car didn't deserve. It was him pitting at the right time when ideally Aston Martin should have pitted Alonso
Stop getting
first.
so annoyed about Stroll and let the man talk.
But it was his driving acumen and skill to know where the track was in terms of grip to be able to make those decisions, and also in Zandvoort where he went from last on the grid to ahead of Alonso. Regardless,
I don't remember Zandvoort, honestly. Yeah, maybe it might have happened.
well, I've got a video. I've got my own YouTube video coming out tomorrow where I'm literally talking about these exact topics about why I'm frustrated. But anyway,
Is that the one that's sponsored by Aramco?
no. Unlike
You should ask them, by the way.
unlike modern Formula One teams, I don't have the backbone of Helmut Marko. So yeah, regardless, the car isn't the deciding factor. We said for all the years when Hamilton was dominating that the car was the only thing that mattered, and now we're seeing that that definitely was the case for him in this year.
Good. Good.
Yeah,
In this podcast, we do that often.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between Tsunoda and Verstappen. Obviously, there is a hint of that car having a very, very narrow setup window, but regardless, if you put someone like a Leclerc or Russell in that second Red Bull, they are not 6-7 tenths off of Max in qualifying and going out in Q1 every other weekend. It's just simply not happening.
Jay?
Australians can't win championships in modern Formula One.
Maybe Alan Jones is the go.
It is kind of crazy, isn't it, when you think about it? Because this is like, obviously Daniel Ricciardo never got the real chance to have one, but this is now the second time. It's Mark Webber had the chance in 2010 in a kind of a similar situation, not exactly the same. Obviously,
Yeah.
it was Piastri in Vettel's circumstance in reality. But yeah, kind of wild. I wonder how close Piastri will get now, But yeah, I don't know. Biggest takeaway, just F1 fans are crazy and Max is brilliant, but they go too far. I don't know. Can we leave it at that? It was a good season.
Yeah. Okay, so for me, the biggest takeaway, I think it might be a bit of a controversial one, which is usual. I think Max would have won the championship if Christian Horner remained. And yeah.
I actually agree with that. For better
Agreed.
or for worse.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like nothing works as well for a team. Nothing works as well for a team in F1 than a dictator who doesn't care about anything other than total victory.
Precisely. Exactly.
Yeah.
my
Refer
point.
to Ferrari in the 2000s.
Yeah. Or refer to Red Bull. I mean, I've not been more frustrated at Red Bull than I was during the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, where after the race, Lauren Macias comes out and says that we didn't really opt for trying to hold people back or something because we were just trying to bank on the win. That's such bullshit. Why? I mean, you don't win champiempips. First of all, it's very rare you get an opportunity to win championships. That's the first thing. I mean, ask Felipe Massa. Just once he did, then when 2009 happened, then Fernando Alonso happened. He never got an opportunity. There are so many other drivers who once got Eddie Irvine. Just once got an opportunity out of the blue.
I hate that guy.
Other than that, yeah, sure. So you're happy with the outcome of Mika Hakkinen winning that season. But the point is that when it comes to Formula One, it's not a given that you will be getting opportunities to win championships. And that holds true for almost every driver. Look at Fernando Alonso. Hasn't fought for one since, 2010, 2012. Nitsa, you how old were you in 2012?
I was at the start of the season or at the end of the season.
I mean,
It's at the start.
approximate.
Wow.
Like it's
Approximate, man. I'm not asking years, date, and month.
I was 7 to 8 years old.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's fair.
Exactly. Ned
I mean,
had
at 7,
not even.
you do say 7.5, so that is fair.
Yeah.
That is.
Basically, Ned had not even reached puberty at that time. Or
We don't know
How do you
that.
know?
No one's verified that.
Exactly. Assuming that. The point is that in Formula One, you don't get opportunities to win championships. You don't. It's not a given. And once you have that, and that's the thing. If there was Christian Horner there, first of all, if there was Christian Horner there, by the time we reach the last race of the season, the intensity would have been higher. Because he knows Red Bull thrives. Red Bull and Max Verstappen both. They thrive in chaos. McLaren, they crumble. I mean, we saw what happened in Qatar. He would have made sure that there was more intensity, more tension, more pressure. at least through the media, he would have consistently talked about maybe they are favoring Lando over Oscar and stuff like that. So that continuously the questions are asked from the drivers.
Brazil,
And
they would have left Max out and said,
precisely.
look, Max,
In
this
Brazil,
is the only way to win.
they would have never gone for a safe option. I have not known Red Bull to go for a safe option for 20 years. And in Brazil, they pitted Max.
Also, they would have kept taking that tape off.
Right? Yeah.
100%. Like, it's all the little things, yeah.
Yeah, and even, by the way, the Lando non-penalty, he would have been shouting at the race director to make sure Lando gets a penalty. If he does or doesn't, but there would have been an effort. The intensity was not there. The intensity of championship battle, consistently talking about it in the media, raising the pressure, raising the tension, none of it was there. And I think if Horner was there, Max would have been a 5-time world champion. I think that for me is the biggest takeaway. And in a way, Max gave the consent to let Horner be fired from Red Bull. He played a role in losing the championship himself. And that's going to piss off a lot of Max Verstappen fans in our subscribers. So yeah.
A lot of whom have been shouting that Mekies has changed things. And I'm like, can you name one thing? Like, I don't know what he's changed. But yeah.
But yeah,
anyway.
That's the one takeaway from me. Yeah. Okay. So moving on from this, the one moment which actually pissed you off the most.
Oh
So
Jesus!
Jason, first of all, there are a lot of them. By the way, I'm assuming.
Them not shouting about taking the tape off. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. That did actually piss me off when Mekies, like the team boss at Red Bull, was like, no, this is not how we operate. And I'm like, are you aware of what team you're running? Like,
Yeah.
What do you mean this isn't how we operate? Fuck off. Yeah, this is exactly how you operate.
Yeah.
I don't know. One time that pissed me off, I'm not really sure. I actually think, like, in terms of this season, in terms of how it's been run, I've been surprised that, like, actually in terms of like stewarding decisions and so on, there's not been anything that's kind of stood out to me. For example, like the guidelines in general, I think are shit and I think need to be changed. So therefore, like, there's a lot of fans getting annoyed about stuff that I'm just like, yeah, but the guidelines are shit. Like, they're following.
We kind of
those.
made peace with it last season after Austin.
It was like,
right?
look,
Yeah.
the drivers decide on this, so fuck them. You know, like if your driver gets fucked by it, like, tell him to change it. Like, it's not, you know, I'm not going to get annoyed about this anymore. I don't know. There's nothing really that pissed me off. I thought it was a pretty good season, to be perfectly honest. Maybe the fact that Hamilton didn't qualify better. But I don't know. Yeah.
Stemming right off of that, it's not one moment. I'm gonna say them all together, grouped together. All the times that Behrman got fucked over by stupid stewards' decisions, like genuinely, the amount of times. I know the guidelines are the things that we should be focusing on, but just the many ways that he could get a penalty just astounded me. Whether it was on track, whether it was off track, whether it was on track but kind of half in the pit lane, whatever. The amount of times that he's got 10 penalty points and he's gained 11. I know he's got rid of some of those as well because some of them came in Brazil last year. In nearly 12 months of Formula One, he's got 11 penalty points despite being one of the cleanest drivers on the grid. It's absolutely mental. It's absolutely. I went through, and this was a couple of months ago. This was, I think, after the Sainz incident in Monza. I went through, and of his then 10 penalty points that he'd accrued in his Formula One career, he'd only deserved like 2 or 3 of them, and that was just me taking off some of what should have been the Silverstone pit lane incident. I found nothing else that he'd done wrong. Like he spun himself.
2 red flag penalties. 6 points were through that, right? One in Monaco, like the other in Silverstone.
Monaco was 4, I believe, and Silverstone was 4 or something ridiculous like that. But yeah, it's like Brazil's 2024. He spun himself off the back of Colapinto. Colapinto lost no time, and he got 2 penalty points and a 10-second time penalty. He's like, what? Like, just leave him alone.
They thought he was Magnussen.
Pardon? What do you say?
They probably thought he was Magnussen.
Yeah.
Well,
you know when he got the penalty for the red flag in Monaco? That was the first time that a driver had got a 10-place grid penalty for anything other than an engine change since Maldonado in 2012. That's how long it had been.
Another of your favorite drivers, by the way.
Another one of my favourite drivers, yes.
Yeah.
He's British. He deserves those penalties.
By the way, the funny thing is these guys had marks laid on for an interview, and everyone is asking about Fernando Alonso, Michael Schumacher, Kimi Raikkonen, and there's a long chat on that. Nedzo jumps in and says, "How was Pastor Maldonado?"
Well, he engineered him, so
Yeah, I know. I was listening to that because again, it's a very. I'll actually suggest everyone to just go back and take a look. It's quite informative. But yeah,
That's my fault.
yeah. So Josh, what's the moment that pissed you off the most? And I think it's probably the papaya rules, if I'm not wrong.
Not quite. By the way, yeah, the bear getting offside with the officials. Yeah, it seems a bit harsh, but they probably were familiar with, his Discord messages. But the moment that pissed me off the most this year probably would have to go down to the fallout from Marco's comments after Qatar regarding Kimi Antonelli.
Yeah.
And the death threats piled at Kimi as a result of that. It's just like, you're giving death threats to a kid who anybody could see. I fell asleep during the race because it was 4 a.m., but I heard about what was going on. It's like, what the hell? So I looked at it. It's just like, I didn't even have the best angle of it, and you could tell it was a mistake. Grow up, guys. Good God. Like, it was horrendous, and it was still going on, and you could still see it had an effect on him, all the way through to even the end of the championship. And he was going to Max and saying, sorry for costing you the championship. It's like, dude, that did not cost Max the championship. You harpooning into him at the hairpin in Austria, yeah, that did. That was much more destructive. But it's just, this is racing, and moreover, it's just, for better or for worse, it is a sport, yes, but it is a form of entertainment. Yet people are going into the football territory where they're treating it like it's their whole fucking
Josh, we
identity.
can't hear you.
I think Kimi Antonelli has has killed his microphone.
Oh, you have got
Kimi
okay,
smashed into him.
Yeah, we'll let him join. We'll let him join back. Yeah, for me. So for me, the biggest moment, I think the one moment that pissed me off was, I don't remember which race it was. So we are having these run of shit races when it comes to on-track action. Where there's nothing going on, there's single stoppers again and again and again. And then Pirelli comes in with this genius idea of, okay, we'll bring tires that are one step harder than what they were last time around. Like, why? What was the logic behind it? And at that
They're
moment,
Italian.
I was like,
There's no
fuck
logic.
this. Exactly. I like, fuck this. These guys have lost logic. Ideally, what they should have done is just bring in the softest possible compounds. Let them do 2 to 3 stops. At least have something happening. Nothing did, and that truly, for me, probably one of the moments that were like, this might be the breaking point for me. And I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't remember which race it was where they did that. And again, the race ended up being dog shit. And like, you think it ended up being bad. What did you expect? But yeah. Anyways, one thing, by the way, when it comes to Kimi, I've seen a lot of things when it comes to Kimi which are probably good, but there's one thing which makes me doubt him a bit. Is he too soft
No.
mentally?
It might be the media and just in general the way he's shielded that make him seem softer than he actually is. Because I think all the pressure he's had, it's like with, for example, Lance Stroll, you could say. I think people kind of consider him as a kind of a nothing figure, but in reality, he's the one who's been the face of a lot of hate for like the last decade or so, and he's still going strong. So I think that you have to. You can't just be some. I was gonna use a slur and I chose not to. You can't be some.
Good
You
job.
can't be some weeb. You can't be some little I was going to use the word fairy, but I don't mean it in the bad way. I don't mean it in a bad way. I mean in a kind of you can't take any sort of criticism.
Criticism,
Yeah.
harsh words, stuff like that.
When you're in a sport, every single sports person is like you can't have the mentality of a paper towel. So I wouldn't say, is there a chance that he's maybe being treated a bit too nicely, maybe, but. I mean, there's a good chance we might get into this later. There's a good chance they'll be fighting for a championship next year. So I think we'll see his personality come out more when he's in a more high pressure situation.
Yeah.
I think he's just, it's his first season. He's 19, I think regardless of who the driver is, you're going to be in that situation where you don't fight back as much, I say this all the time about why I miss having Vettel and stuff around, because most of the young drivers, until they get to the point where they're as successful or won a world champion or they've got race wins and all these things under their belt for a while, they don't speak out, they don't shout out, because they're well, if I say anything wrong, I could be fucking ejected from here, so
also
I think it's
training.
normal. Yeah, and media training trains them to be little bitches. So this is accurate. I just think, it's fine. I'm actually, I know this is off topic on that, but I'm actually kind of looking forward to Lando now next year and see how he reacts. Because even after he won the championship, he just got all I no longer care about. I'll just say whatever now. And I was like, oh, nice, okay, cool. This is what we want, because kind of it's either Max getting aggressive and not wanting to talk to the media, or Lewis just kind of going, oh, I'm so grateful for everything. And there's no one standing around giving
Alonso.
Yeah, I guess we need Alonso to be in the media more often. At the moment he's too busy hoping he gets a better car.
Yeah, but, we all are hoping he gets a better car.
He's going to win a third title next year.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Cool.
Okay, so my Wi-Fi here has completely died. The only thing worse, the only thing out of this country worse than Lawson's racecraft. That's Josh.
I just love that his Wi-Fi got taken out by Antonelli in the middle of a podcast. Yeah.
Actually, it might be a Verstappen fan.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Maybe from that.
Yeah, tell him no problem. If he can join again, great. If not, no worries.
Yeah,
cool.
So I guess this one might be same for all of us. I'm hoping the feel good moment for the season. One moment that was that hits you in the right places.
Me or
Jake?
Ned? Oh. Well, given how some of our fans feel about this podcast, I'm going to have to say Lando Norris winning a deserving championship and beating Max Verstappen, even though Lando had the slower car by the end of the season. Really, and this is the best time for Josh to come back in without any context. But Lando, at the end of the day, when you think about it, just like Max Verstappen, be a multiple world champion in a difficult season with a car that was slower than that world champion's car by the end of the season. So I think, bravo, Lando Norris. Absolute spectacular. And I think he's going to be the next Max Verstappen. And it was his 7th season, by the way, as well. So
yeah. And he was beating a champion who was on a 4 championship win streak.
Yeah.
Just like Lewis.
So, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, cool.
So
Ned?
Lando is the next Verstappen. That should annoy most people.
I think the feel-good moment has got to be all of the rookies in there when they got their best results of the year or best performances of the year. So Hadjar and Zandvoort, Behrman in Mexico, Antonelli in either Canada or Brazil, Lawson in, never mind, Colapinto when he in the races where he matched Gasly or beat Gasly. And then doing, never mind, who am I missing? I'm missing one of them. Bortoletto, because he did nothing all year. Bortoletto did nothing all year. Josh, you got it again.
You pissed Josh away. Okay, so for me, the biggest feel-good moment, I'm surprised neither of you actually talked about it. Nico Hülkenberg getting his first podium.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
See, this season was great. So many amazing things happened this season.
That was the best moment for me.
Podium as well.
Yeah. That was the best one. Best race for me. I've seen the race twice or thrice now. It's been fun watching it. Plus also, I've covered his... I've not covered his entire career. I've seen his entire career. It's been... And I think it was done after 2019 when ultimately he was shafted from Renault. I didn't think he'll come back. And again, every time when he came back with Racing Point, he kind of showed that he still had the goods. Well, at least one good thing Gunther Steiner did, gave him an opportunity, and he's back and he's done. I mean, he's achieved a podium. He's never going to fulfill the potential that he had. I think he could have fought for championships if he was in the right car at the right time, but at least he got a podium. And yeah, for me, that is the one moment which is like the best one. We used to joke, right? If he gets a podium, I'd stop doing it. I'd retire
stop
from the
watching
whole
F1.
thing.
Yeah. I made that so many times. Yeah.
The thing is, the weird part about Hulkenberg is I'm pretty sure I saw something in like 2020 where it might have been even, I think it was in 2020 where he said, if I don't get a seat on the 2021 grid, I'll never drive an F1 again. And then here we are now. I think it was either in 2020 then he talked about 2021, or it was in 2021 talking about 2022. I don't exactly remember. But yeah, as for the championship part, I don't think he would have ever fought for a championship. He was just too inconsistent. People see him as this sort of consistent driver, but apart from his early Force India years, his later Force India years, 2014, 2015, 2016, he wasn't really that consistent. He would have like 7 or 8 good races a year and then just fuck off into the abyss.
Like Ocon.
Yeah, kind of.
Hey, could be worse. Could be Franco Colapinto.
Hey.
Pinto's underrated.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. By the way, if Lewis was not going to be at Mercedes, it was Nico Hülkenberg who would have ended up there.
I know,
That
it
would
was,
have
but
been
also Lewis was third choice behind Vettel and Alonso, so it doesn't really matter.
Which no one wants to admit if they're Hamilton fans.
Yeah.
Even though it's
the
obvious.
choice was, it was first Vettel was approached, and then it was Alonso, then it was Lewis, then it was Hülkenberg. That was the order.
Then it was Carpenter.
Yeah.
I won't have minded it in any which way, but yeah.
Then it was Felipe
anyways,
Massa. Right, so...
moving on from this, let's see even if Josh does ultimately jump in. We can hope. Okay, the top 5 drivers for the season. Jason?
Oh, me
If you
straight
have
away.
to
Well, look, I mean, Max, number 1, straight away. I mean, he was just the best driver of the season, even though he did have the fastest car for the majority of the season, let's be honest here. But he was the best driver of the season, just absolutely spectacular every time. Second for me, honestly, I know it's going to annoy people, George Russell, I thought, of all the drivers on the grid, most consistent. And you can only, at the end of the day, this is true for everybody, you can only maximize your machinery, and I feel like George is actually probably the closest one to like maximizing his machinery, even though Max had more spectacular peaks over the season, if that makes sense, which is why I'd put him slightly ahead. Then Lando, I think, like, honestly, this is the thing. I'm so excited, and I said this in the last podcast, I'm so excited to see Lando next season, because as much as we make jokes, as much as he gets bashed by F1 fans and so on, if we're talking about just pure talent and racecraft, Lando is up there with the likes of Max and Leclerc and Russell. Like, he is a spectacularly fast racing driver, amazing when it comes to racecraft, but he just constantly bottles it over his mentality. So, like, I'm hoping that this has kind of lifted that cloud and we get this driver next year who just doesn't give a shit and is willing to just drive like that all the time. I think it'll be spectacular. After Lando, I guess Piastri, although I don't know, Piastri was very inconsistent. Like, at the start of the season, he was off a little bit, then he got onto it and he started being brilliant and beating Lando a lot, and then he dropped again, and then he got good again, and it's kind of, that's why he's lower for me. And I know people will say that about Lando, but hey, Lando did it enough to win the title and the other one didn't, so I'm putting Oscar behind him. And then P5 probably Leclerc. I think Leclerc got handed a dog shit car and did something really well with it. So those are probably your top 5 drivers, although I would say this year there's been a few midfield drivers that could probably get in that top 5 if I really thought it out, Yeah. Hamilton got his 8th as well. That's good.
Yeah.
8th in Abu Dhabi, which is good. Yeah.
Ned?
Well, good for you, because you said you hadn't really thought it out. I had thought it out, and I even made my own full. I even made my full 21 driver list of ranking them all. I could just go through that if you wanted, but my top 5 were Verstappen first, Russell second, Leclerc third, Norris 4th, and then Gasly 5th. I'm not sure exactly why I put him there over Behrman, but I did. Behrman was 6th. Then it was Piastri 7th, Hadjar, Sainz, Alonso, Antonelli, Colapinto, Ocon, Stroll, Bortoletto, Albon, Hulkenberg, Hamilton, Lawson, Tsunoda, Doohan.
I love that Colapinto's ahead of Albon. I'm loving this.
Albon is one of the most overrated drivers on the current grid right now. he had a good first start to a season when Sainz was struggling, and then as soon as Sainz adapted, he looked like Latifi, like genuinely. He scored no points since Monza, whereas Sainz scored
Yeah, it was
2
shocking.
podiums in that time.
Oh, I hadn't realized that. Jesus, yeah. He is genuinely the Hamilton of Williams. That's insane.
That's it. Like, again, Albon, when he wants to perform, can do really well in individual races, but over the course of a season, he never performs.
Where is Hamilton on your list? Just out of
He
interest.
is 18th.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
God,
Yeah.
you got him lower than even I have.
This British bias is ridiculous. I
It's-
can't believe you
it's-
have him as high up as 18th.
It's just because this is the thing. This is the mental thing about Hamilton in this season. There are certain drivers who I compile stats for, and I compile their average gap to their teammate in qualifying and race trim. Hamilton compared to Leclerc this season is worse than the gap between Alonso and Stroll in 2023. That's how bad it is.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
It's poor.
Yeah.
It was a poor season. I mean, the thing is, we end up hammering on Lewis.
As I said in a video the other day that I did, and I got a few comments being like, "Thank you for saying this." It was just like, I think I said it on the podcast too. I'm like, if you just replace the name Hamilton with Sainz, there would be tons of fans being like, "Sainz needs to leave or Ferrari. Like this isn't good enough." And one of those is not getting 60, 70, 80 million a year from the team. So
And one isn't holding up a seat for a future great.
yeah. Sainz isn't holding up a seat for anyone.
No one holds a seat
I know
for
he
the
is.
future
I'm
great at
Hamilton.
Ferrari.
I know you're talking about Behrman, but
But no one holds a seat at Ferrari for a future great. It's usually after they leave Ferrari, they become great.
yeah,
Or
true.
before they came to Ferrari. But yeah, I mean, even I did the whole list. I mean, I just published the article on this thing. So I have Max at the top. I have Leclerc second. I have George third. I have Norris fourth and Oscar fifth.
So
I
you're a
had
Leclerc
Alonso
fanboy,
at
is what
sixth.
we've learned, basically.
Yeah, of course, you can say that. But again, the
only
thing
likes-
is, a lot of races. What happened with George is in the later part of the season, he started either dropping off or either Kimi caught up to him, because the impressiveness and the errors kind of increased. Mexico, there were a few others that I'm not remembering right now, but he wasn't maximizing the car the way he was early in the season. Because I think by mid-season, I had George at P1 and then Max at P2. That was how things were. But Max just kicked things off in the mid-season. And Leclerc had a very, very impressive streak. I think from Singapore onwards, probably. But the entire duration, the gap just continued to increase against Lewis. And by the end of the season, it was painful to watch. And if you're doing it to Lewis, it's again, you can say Lewis has washed a lot of things, but the way he was dragging that car in the last few races, that car didn't deserve to be anywhere near where he was putting it. And I think that kind of takes a lot of credit. After the season,
Carry on.
go for it.
I was gonna say, I think for George, I think it was a mix of him sort of not falling off, but just having a couple of struggles early in the season, and Antonelli stepping up his game, because like Brazil and stuff, like you can't say that wasn't a great performance, getting second in both the sprint and the main race.
That was brilliant. That was the race when I finally thought, okay, Kimi is finally showing what he's capable of.
Yes.
Right? And the way he defended against George as well. Not George, sorry, Max as well.
Yeah.
That's something that was maybe the hallmark race for Kimi. I mean, throughout the season, if you look at it, that was the race we kind of
And
impressed.
Canada. But then again,
Canada was good, but I'd say the kind of pressure he had from Max in that in Brazil at the end of the race, I don't think we didn't see his racing acumen that much in Canada. I'd say Mercedes was probably faster than what Max had in Canada, not in Brazil. So yeah.
yes.
Cool. Okay, moving on. By the way, I would not put Lando in P3. In the first half of the season, I think there were 5 or 6 qualifying laps that he fucked up at the start of the season. That's not. I mean that you can't put him that high.
Yeah.
At least that's my view.
And he also had
Does-
colossal errors in races, or
A lot of
qualifying
them.
errors that led to race results losing out. Saudi, Canada, and Baku.
Bahrain.
Oh, I forgot about Bahrain. Was that when was that one where he not jumped the start? He was in the wrong grid spot and got a 5-place grid penalty. Not 5-place grid,
Yeah.
5-second time penalty.
5-second penalty, yeah. Even he couldn't really overtake George at the end of the race. There were a lot of races. At the start of the season, there were a lot of moments where you could see that Lando was leaving points on the table.
There is a lot of recency bias when it comes to ranking Lando's season for a lot of people because they're like, oh, 30 seconds in Mexico. And then they're like, oh, in the wall in Canada.
Yeah. True. Cool. Moving on. So the driver that surprised you the most, Ned?
Behrman.
Really?
Well, I knew he
were
was
you
good.
not impressed with him in F2?
I knew he was good. Well, again, it depends what you mean by surprise, because given how the start of this season went, how the
That was
end of this
rubbish.
season went
Yeah.
was a lot better. The same as I'd say. I'm trying to think of. So is this positively surprised or negatively surprised or both?
Surprise means positive.
Okay, positive.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say because if you said negative, I would have said something like Bortoletto, because I'd have thought he'd have been at least like joint best rookie, but he's just kind of been nowhere. I would say also, again, same way as Behrman, how his start of the season went, Colapinto, because he went from being doing 2.0 to being better than Gasly in a rookie season, like within like.
You'd say he was
5
better
races.
than Gasly in the rookie season.
Pardon?
You'd say he was better than Gasly.
Well, what I'm saying is he was beating him at some points in the races as a driver in his first season. Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he was better than Gasly in 2018 or whatever. That's not what I mean. But yeah, basically, there are a couple of drivers where, especially given what they were doing at the start of the year, you didn't expect them to get good, and then they just kind of did. So, yeah. Also, Stroll having his best season since 2020. So, yeah.
He got whitewashed by Alonso in qualifying.
Stroll's qualifying performances do not matter. He always pulls it back in the races, apart from 2020 where he beat Perez, when he beat Perez in both qualifying and race trim.
He didn't really have those races. Again, the problem with Stroll's season this time around is I don't think the Aston deserved to be in qualifying in places where Alonso put it, because in race he didn't really have the pace in any which way to keep up. I think that's why they ended up converging a bit in by the end of the races. But it was more a case of the car not being there. It wasn't the case of the driver being driver underperforming or something. At least in my view, I still rate the 2020 season more than the 2025 season from Stroll.
This is the weird thing with Stroll, because when the Aston Martin in the few weekends that it was genuinely top 10, Alonso was always the faster driver. But in the weekends where it wasn't always right there, Stroll was always, especially if they both qualified low, Stroll was always the one making it out. And also he was good in the chaotic races. He was good in Australia. He was good in Zandvoort. He was good elsewhere. And he would have he said in the interview that he could have got pole in Las Vegas. I wouldn't go that far, but he could have easily been top 5 on the grid, avoided the intercontinental ballistic missile that was Bortoletto at turn 1, and got on a good top 5 finish. And that would have been better than Alonso, and he was better than Alonso that entire weekend. He's always good on low grip circuits. So
He was behind Alonso in Q1, right?
I
Then in
think
Q2 got shafted.
It might have been, but again, wet weather, crossing the line at certain times is not always perfect. They were fluctuating between who was fastest all session, so we can give it an equal. But I do think that Stroll, in a cold track, in wet weather conditions, he might have fallen back in the race, because I think Alonso did as well. I think Alonso finished like 11th after qualifying like top 10. But he could have easily done something good in that race and never got a chance to show it. So yeah, I do think that going into next year, I think you should watch out for him. Stroll, that is.
Yeah. I hope not, but yeah, sure. I really hope not. But again, if he is there, then it means Aston is there. So that's a partial wish. Jay, what's your
I guess
the driver surprises the most?
The obvious most surprising driver is probably Hajar, just in because I wasn't expecting him to be this good. Whereas I feel like with everyone else, they kind of have been kind of where I've expected them to be. I think Piastri would be a second close, but yeah, Hajar, or a close second, sorry. But Hajar was, I just wasn't expecting him to be this good, and he's been spectacular for most of the season, to be honest, you know. I wasn't expecting that. Colapinto is where I expected him to be. Hamilton is worse than I expected him to be, which is kind of a surprise. Oscar surprised me in terms of like just the step that he made from one season to the next. I thought was really impressive. But yeah, no one else on the grid kind of surprise me. Like there was teams that were, I would put it that like there was teams that surprised me in terms of how like Sauber was much better than we expected, for example, you know, like things like that. But in terms of just drivers, everyone else was kind of roughly where I thought they would be this season. Whereas Hadjar was a big kind of standout. Antonelli is probably another one that surprised me in that I thought maybe he'd do better. But I also do think we've talked about this before in terms of that's expectations, when the reality is it's his first season against someone like Russell, and our expectations were just way too high. Like it was just unfair to Antonelli, I think. But yeah, I think Hadjar.
I think Lando surprised me the most.
You're such
Because-
a Lando fanboy. It's ridiculous.
No, because my expectations were. I think at the start of the season, I think we were on the same one, and I said that Lando would be the faster driver. That is a given at least. But would he make the most of the clutch moments? And I think that's where I always thought that Oscar would nail it and ultimately end up winning the championship. And that was the consistent narrative that we had. By mid-season, we were almost sure that, okay, Oscar is going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
The way Lando has somehow transformed, and he doesn't make those errors anymore. I mean, again, we talk about the championship being... the championship being dragged into the last race of the season. A lot of it was down to McLaren's dumb fuckery, to be honest. It should have been done by Vegas.
It
to be
was 40 out of the I think it was 70 something points that Lando lost.
He
in
lost
the season.
18 points in Zandvoort for no reason.
That's what I was going to say. 28 points you could put down to Lando being Lando, and 44 points or something like that were down to the team.
And then there was Oscar crashing into the back of him in which race was it? Sprint in Austin. So there were moments where, for me, I think we also discussed this thing specifically, that by the time Lando closed the gap on Oscar, we thought that he was not in the spotlight. So okay, he was closing the gap, fine. As soon as he's in the spotlight, will he be able to perform?
We said this, right?
Yeah.
We were like, as soon as the pressure comes on and he's leading the championship again, he's going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
My thing in the first half of the season was that Lando was a bit of a mental midget. That was the impression that I had. Yeah. And the way he has moved on from that, and in the second half of the season, when it came to producing the results and making sure that he sees the championship, it's been a bit of a surprise. And again, how he tackles the challenge next season as a world champion, I think it's going to be interesting. Whether he's good enough or not, I think again a lot of things would depend on how the McLaren car is. We still don't know where they are all going to stack up. But if the car is competitive, how he performs is going to be. Let's see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is the driver that was so the team that surprised you the most.
Who wants to start with that one?
Go for it, Ned.
Yeah.
Again, positive or negative?
Positive.
Either way. No,
Have
it
you
can
not
be
gone
either.
through the list? There's the next one which disappointed you the most. That would be the one.
I should really read your list sometimes.
Yeah.
So let me just go through them in my head. So McLaren, they weren't good. Red Bull, no. Mercedes, yeah. Then what's next? Ferrari, let's not even. Alpine. It's the whole bunch of nothing. No team really surprised or did better than I expected. I mean,
Sauber.
that's because of Behrman, but then again,
Sauber. Fucking hell, you can't move on from Behrman, right? Everything.
But
I love it.
Sauber, so I've always the thing is, again, I've been watching F1 for quite a while, and so I just know Sauber as a midfield team that kind of does nothing. And what did they do this year? They're in the midfield and they kind of did nothing. Like, yes, compared to previous seasons, they're better than what they have been. But I wouldn't say it's surprising to see Sauber in the midfield and doing.
Were you surprised? Weren't you surprised?
No.
After the kind of season they had last 2 years.
But the thing is, because of a close field spread and because of all the things that have been going on there, then again, I know the Audi project has been kind of half baked, but finally coming to fruition. I wouldn't say I would be surprised to see finally Sauber doing something and resurrecting their form. They also got rid of Zhou. They got rid of Bottas, who, I mean, again, Bottas isn't the worst driver, but Zhou definitely wasn't great. Finally tried something new, and I guess they just returned to where they were. And I think that's probably the best send-off to Peter Sauber, to be a midfield team.
until he comes back and Audi leaves.
Well, when another German manufacturer decides they've finished with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Jason?
Sauber, 100%. Because, like, honestly, think about last year when we were talking about doing our predictions for this season. Everyone, like every single one of us on that podcast, and I know, like, me and you talking about it as well, we're like, yeah, Sauber's obviously just going to write off next season. I was like, they're either going to pressure test and try and do something, or they'll just write off the season. And they didn't. They've been really, really good. Like, I mean, comparatively to where we were expecting them to be, comparatively to where they were last year, they've been very, very good. They were surprising in that fact. And I think it's probably for the best, because even if they tried to like implement changes and see whether they could build forward, if they didn't actually do it within a season, I don't think any of us would have any sort of expectations for Audi. Whereas now it feels like, okay, you know what? Audi, I'm not expecting huge things from in 2026, but I think they will be able to actually like build up more than I thought they would. I think they've got the right
Would
team
not
in
be a
place.
McLaren Honda, basically.
Yeah. So probably Sauber is the most surprising. Yeah.
Yeah, for me as well. And it's not only me just in terms of results, but even covering the sport. So what was probably the most disappointing thing for the last couple of seasons was when I'm doing the driver ratings after the season, I had to go back and look at the classifications to see how Bottas and Joe did. That team was so anonymous, and I couldn't help using the word anonymous again and again in the driver ratings, because that's how their race weekends were. They were nowhere. Exactly. It's just you don't even notice that they exist. That's how the last couple of seasons were. And even when it comes to the whole, you can say, again, it's not something that we usually talk about, the social media game and the positivity around the team. It was a dead team for the last couple of years. This time around, there's a lot of positivity. It started with Hülkenberg's P6 in Australia, the very first race. Just by that single result, he scored double the points that they had scored in the entire last year. So that's how.
Stroll got P6.
Sorry?
It was P7.
P7, yeah, P7. So from there they began, and again the podium, and even before that, I think the race in Barcelona, where I think he got P5 or P6 something. There were a lot of these results which are, you can say, a feel good factor with a team that I was honestly I was pessimistic about. My thing was, when Hülkenberg signed for them, my reaction was, okay, that's the final nail in the coffin of his career. I didn't expect his season to turn around the way it did, and him getting a podium with this team again, it's just the icing on the cake. So yeah, it just seems to be that way. Okay, so the driver that was the most disappointing, Jason. Why is it Lewis Hamilton?
Honestly, I hate to do this, but yes, it is Lewis Hamilton. Like, it's just, there's no other driver that, that disappointed me this much. Like, Stroll is shit, but he's always been shit, so that's fine. I'm sorry, Nedzo. But Hamilton, like, we said this, like, start of last season. I said Hamilton going to Ferrari is going to be a bit of a culture shock. It's going to be tough. It's not going to work out well, and I was like, he's going there, everyone's pumping up to, Ferrari were close to a title last season, they could fight for a title next year. And I was like, even if they do, Leclerc will be the one fighting for the title. And we were like, both of us, I think, said Hamilton will probably get a win or two, but it's going to be a big fucking culture shock for him. It's going to be a big change. And he hasn't been beating George. So how is he going to beat Leclerc at a new team, having to get used to everything and so on? But then every single other fucking driver who changed teams was able to adapt, including Sainz, by the way, the one who they swapped out and decided, hey, we could pay 5 times the price for someone shitter, right? Like, they swapped all that over and then got a driver who not only is now the longest running in Ferrari without a podium, he is also the first driver in Ferrari's history to have 3 consecutive Q1 exits. So, like, it's a disappointment on a different scale. And look, as much as I joke around about Hamilton, like, being overrated and stuff all the time, like, I know I constantly wind up people because of that stupid, if only he qualified better remark in Las Vegas last year that annoyed me to no end. Hamilton is genuinely a spectacular talent, and he has been, like, over the seasons in various points. And this has been an utter disappointment. Like on every level, it's been a disappointment. And the only excuse I've gotten on my videos from the comments is the most hilarious one ever, which is, well, this car has been dog shit though, and he's just focused on 2026. And I'm like, okay, sure. What are you talking about? Like, you know, are you telling me that Leclerc's just going, yeah, fuck 2026. I'm going to spend all this year focusing on trying to get a podium or two. Obviously not. They're both focused on 2026. It doesn't change any difference. They're both in the same car. So anyone who gives that bullshit, fuck off. And also, I'm sorry, if you're talking about a 7-time world champion and he's going, yeah, I'm not going to bother this season, then that's not the attitude of a 7-time world champion. Max said he wasn't going to bother this season after halfway and managed to get 2 points close to the title. Like, I mean, world champions don't do that. And when they do, it's because they're at the end of their career. The last time a world champion decided, I'm not really that bothered, it was Vettel, and that was at the end of his career. So, I'm sorry, it's either the end of his career or it's a fucking disappointment and he's not getting near a 7th. Rant over. There's someone at my door. I will be back in 2 seconds.
Yeah. Ned?
I will quickly say that people talk about Lewis and they say, because obviously unlike Max, he's had a large spate of really, really good teammates to go up against, and they say, oh, well, every good driver, every good champion loses against at least one teammate. And I just say Alain Prost, the guy who never lost to a single teammate, including Ayrton
what?
Senna. Pardon?
He lost to Senna and Lauda.
Oh, sorry, Lauda in 84. Lauda in 84, I'll give you by half a point. But Senna, he was better in both 88 and 89. So
He lost.
yeah, but he was better.
He lost.
But
By the way, there's also another thing. The Honda engines, they were different for Senna and for Prost. So again, it wasn't a level playing field either. And
Yeah.
I agree with you on that point. But look, drivers losing and everything is fine. That's not really the concern for me. For me, when it comes to Lewis, the concern is what he's capable of and what he's achieving. They are two different things.
Yes.
Lewis should have done to Nico Rosberg what Vettel did to Weber.
Yes.
Basically ran him to the ground, and ultimately that's how it should have been. But he basically gifted him a championship in 2016, which should never have happened. Which would have never happened with the Vettel or Alonso.
It's not just that. It's the fact that in 2013, Rosberg was miles better. Well, not miles better, but it was enough that you could realise it. But regardless, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Obviously, Lewis is the obvious take for most disappointing. But from what was the third round? Japan. Was that the third round? From Japan onwards, Tsunoda was the most disappointing for me because I know the car is bad and I know narrow setup window, but no one performed the level that he did in that second Red Bull seat. It was apart from Lawson, but he didn't get the time to properly show himself. Like the fact that Tsunoda started shit and then got no better apart from maybe one or two races where the car was nowhere. Genuine, the fact there was no improvement. I mean, in Abu Dhabi, the one time he was given a bit of limelight, a bit of show us what you can do, he doesn't defend. He doesn't do anything other than give himself a headache and give himself a penalty. Like genuinely.
I mean, so there are a lot of things that go on in the background when it comes to Red Bull.
I know.
No, in terms of you're basically isolated as second driver. There's no one to there's literally no attention.
So I missed some of this, but what is the rant at the minute? What are we talking about?
So the rant is Neds is talking about the driver that disappointed him the most. So he's saying Yuki Tsunoda.
Oh, okay.
And he's saying that since Japan, Yuki was the most disappointing for him. The problem is, I for a long time I've tried to evaluate Yuki's season. There were at least 4 races where Red Bull apologized to Yuki for either not having his tires prepared, for poor strategy, for not fucking executing a penalty properly, for for some setup issues or something. And it happened. There were 4 consecutive races that this happened. And again, why this happened? Because Lauren Mekies is there now. If it was Horner, they would not even bother to even apologize to him. The problem is when you talk about the Red Bull second driver, it's a very, very... It's not a place to be, honestly. You don't want to compete against probably the greatest talent in F1 ever by being so handicapped. That's the problem. And he's going to beat you anyway. The problem is Max, if you put everything equal, Max is going to beat you, and he's going to beat you handily. But when you're handicapped to such an extent, it makes it very, very hard.
Handicapped.
It's just, yeah. So that's the whole issue when it comes to Yuki. Again, I'm not saying that Yuki is probably
Sorry,
one of the
one
best
sec.
driver. What happened?
Door again. My bad. Keep going.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go for it. No problem. So when it comes to Yuki, I'm not saying he's the best driver in F1 or even he should have stayed on the grid. I'm not really arguing that. For me, the problem is it becomes very hard to judge how good or bad he was because there was nothing to judge him on. There's no parameter on which we can judge them. That's the problem. Okay, for me, the driver that actually was disappointing the most, I'd say it was Lewis for me as well. For me, the problem is not that he's slower. For me, the problem is the execution. Alonso, I think I might be right or I might be wrong. In terms of performance, he's also regressed in terms of ultimate pace that he used to have at his peak. And I think Lewis is also regressed when it comes to that. The problem is Alonso, whatever his level is, he can consistently execute that. Lewis, almost every weekend since last season, he has come out and said that I'm not sure what is going on with the car. I think that is such a red flag for any driver who is consistently talking about, for the last couple of years, he's said it again and again that I don't know what's wrong. And that's the problematic thing because he's capable of a lot more, but he's not doing that. And that's where the disappointment comes in because he could have been a bit laid back at Mercedes because he had the, what's the word to use here?
Leverage.
He had money in the bank. He had the goodwill in place because he had won 6 world championships with them. He could be laid back. I don't think he has that bandwidth at Ferrari, and I think Jason also kind of shared a video on this because there were rumors that Ferrari wanted him out after Abu Dhabi. I think, yeah, there were rumors that they wanted him done. There have been a lot of conversations on that. I think things have been resolved or whatever has happened on that front. But the what he's shown on track and the overall thing and the demeanor and everything, it's been a disaster, complete disaster, at least in my view.
The thing is with Lewis, he's always had problems with consistency and execution. He's only ever had one season, or maybe 2 seasons, where you could genuinely say he was pretty much flawless, and those were 2015 and 2012. Apart from those seasons, there was, I'd say, no real. There were other seasons where he was performing 3/4 of the time. Let's say 2014, where he was doing really well. But most of the other seasons he's performing well, or he's performing at his best half of the time or less. And ever since 2019, I'd say, he's been on this downward spiral of just performing consistently in less and less races. And luckily, in 2019 and 20, he could hide behind a fast car and a subordinate teammate. But once he was equalled or bettered in terms of car performance, he had nowhere to hide. And that's finally coming to fruition now. And I think that he's just going to get. People are saying, "Oh, he's going to be back in 2026 if the cars are." Yeah, he's regressing, and there's no way back in. He's getting older and older, and unlike Alonso, who's showing very little, they're smaller incremental signs of regression. Lewis he's just been on this same, like 2024. He was just as bad. It's just that he was able in a couple more races to be able to show, you know what, I've got a bit of race pace. Apart from 2023, he hasn't really shown any good seasons since 2019. He hasn't shown any legendary, properly great seasons since 2019.
Yeah.
So.
Jason?
Well, first of all, I just to catch up real quick. Yeah, Hamilton's been completely useless. And the other thing I would say about just Yuki is, honestly, I've seen a few Verstappen fans use the points gap, of what was it? His teammates since 23 or something have scored 38 points and he scored 300 and something, whatever it is. And I'm like, guys, that's not really the proof that it needs to be, because the drivers that have gone onto that seat haven't been Lance Strolls. They've been properly good drivers. Sorry, Nedzo. So what the point is, that is clear proof that everything is favored towards Max. Because if it was like, oh, they'd scored 150 points, like half his tally, you'd say, all right, well, Max is legendary. But when you go like 38 points and you're talking Sergio Perez, Yuki Tsunoda, Lawson, these people, it's like, these are not awful drivers. So like clearly the car, that's proof to me that the car is just completely, and the setup and like the backing and everything is just focused on Max. Because that's just a ridiculous points gap. That doesn't prove the point of like, oh, Yuki's shit. No, that proves the point of the car is clearly set up purposely for Max. Like, you know, that's, I'm sorry, but that's just obvious. Like it doesn't merit any other thing, because if it wasn't, even if Yuki was doing shit, he would still have scored a good few points this season, like in that car. So yeah, anyway, what was the actual question then?
I was just going to quickly interject about, because I do agree with the main sentiment at that point, but the only contradictory point to that I'd say is 1994, because Johnny Herbert, Jerky Driver Leto, and Jos Verstappen were both at least top midfield drivers. Yet Schumacher dunked 1.8 seconds on him in qualifying and was like a minute clear in the races. And
But that's not the same era right now, isn't it? That's not the same era as right now. At that point,
I know it isn't. I know, but I suppose then you didn't have the same thing as like with car setup and how cars handled. If a car was bad, it was bad. It wasn't the case that there were some cars that were at the top that handled slightly more finicky than the others. It wasn't really like that. Your car was good or your car was bad, and I think that
not only that, the one of the things that actually stands out right now is, at that very point, you could say that the top 2 or top 3 drivers, they had almost a second on the drivers that were in the midfield or beyond. That was the sentiment at the time. And I mean, Bernie Ecclestone, I think he said that famously, that Michael Schumacher at that time was worth half a minute in a car, in a Formula 1 car. And in a sense, he was right, because when Michael tested the 1995 Ferrari,
yes,
he was almost half a second faster. Yeah, and he was almost half a second faster than both Gerhard Berger and John Alesi. So that kind of things were possible at that time. Right now, there's the gaps between the elite talent and probably Lance. It's not that big. It's maybe 2 to 3 tenths, or maybe at stretch you can say half a second between the best driver and the worst driver. They didn't have that at the time. So that's the big difference now, because everything has become very, very, you can say, professionals. The pay driver has almost gone. All these things, all these factors are slowly being removed from the sport, and the talent is rising to the top.
What I do want to say is that they should make the cars harder to drive, because then I know that having all the cars within half a second at Austria is great and all, but I want to see what happens when drivers make, because I know they do make mistakes nowadays, but I want to see them make mistakes. I want to have cars that are more finicky on the edge, less downforce, groove tyres and refueling. Boom. That solves 95% of the issues in modern Formula 1.
Yeah, well, hopefully next year we'll have a lot less downforce. So that's really good.
But they'll lose 3 seconds and gain it all back by the end of the first year.
Yeah. Exactly. I have to leave in 10 minutes. So
we are mostly
what do we think
done,
in terms of what are we jumping into next?
So the driver that was the most disappointing is the team that was the most disappointing.
Oh, easy.
Ferrari.
Easy. Ferrari.
If you're winning a championship almost winning a championship in one season, and then you're basically
nowhere in the next, incomparable to Ferrari.
Still though, can you really be disappointed where you didn't expect anything in the first place?
I was going to say the same thing about Alpine. I was expecting Alpine to either be really amazing or really shit this year. The reason I said really amazing was, I either basically...
He loves Flavio.
My point was either Flavio will put all of the money and effort that they have into this car to just sell the team as quickly as possible, or they'll completely write off the season and focus on 2026, and they did the latter. Ferrari is the most disappointing, because literally at the end of last year they were like, our potential is right there and we are so close if we just go and build the car.
Is that like a slur impression?
No, it's just some generic Italian.
More French than Italian, I can't lie.
It was that's true. Ha ha, baguette. Ha ha ha. We are French and we surrender. I don't know. They just fucked up. They just completely fucked up, and I don't know how. I don't know. I remember we were talking about this where at the start of the season, it was literally like we were 8 points away from the championship last year, and they're like, but we've changed the entire car. And I remember you and me in the podcast were like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Like
99% of the car has changed.
Yeah. It's like, why?
We kept the fucking steering wheel.
That's like me going, hey, look, guys, I know we made $1 million this month, up from 100,000 last month, but what do you guys think about changing everything? It's the dumbest statement you can make. It's so, it almost needs the R word, but we're not going there because we want to get monetized at some point.
Ned?
Yeah, I'd say Ferrari are definitely up there. I mean, you could say you're kind of disappointed in McLaren they didn't wrap up the championship with however many races to go. But yeah, that's a pretty far-fetched kind of.
Yeah,
it's on a technicality rather than just on pure performance.
Yeah. Cool. I agree. I usually agree with the whole.
So Nedzo, Stroll to Ferrari. Would you enjoy it? No.
I mean, it would tick a box, and he was in the Ferrari Driver Academy, so I suppose it'd be going full circle. But apart from that, no.
They're doing so poorly, they could genuinely end up with Stroll and Perez at this point, 2 former Ferrari Academy drivers.
I'm trying to think of who's the worst Ferrari Academy driver who's currently on the grid. I don't know.
Joe was from Ferrari, right?
Okay, let's move on.
What happened?
I said Behrman. I was just trying to wind up then. So yeah, that's fine.
Anyways, so the rookie thing, I think let's do a podcast on that differently. The best rookie one. We'll probably have a longer discussion on that. Let's jump to the questions.
About 40,000 times.
Which one?
I said we've already mentioned them about 40,000 times anyway. So
yeah. No, because I think it's going to become.
I wonder who Nedzo's rookie of the year would be. I imagine Colapinto.
No, it has to be. It's British bias, right? That's the whole thing with him.
Yeah,
cool. Let's jump to the questions. Okay, let's just go through them quickly.
Cool.
I don't know how you find me. How you found me? Okay, so that's the name of the person. I'm assuming.
Okay. I thought this was the name of your stalker.
I wish I had one. How good are Lando and Oscar?
Too old and bald to have a stalker now. Yeah.
Talk about yourself.
I stalk myself in the mirror sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. How good are Lando and Oscar compared to Leclerc and Russell? I think the general consensus is that Verstappen is a level above everyone, but I don't know where they stand. Ned?
I think it goes Verstappen, Leclerc, Russell, Norris, Piastri.
Yeah.
Jay?
I'd agree with that. I agree with that. Yeah. That's. I mean, look, and the thing is, I will say as well, just to add to that really quickly, I don't want to bash them either. I don't actually think there's a huge margin between those drivers. Does that make sense? But yeah, exactly.
It's more about like consistency and you can say making most of opportunities. It's a testament
to Formula One as well, modern Formula One, that we've got like a good group of really incredible drivers here.
Yeah,
and then Lance Stroll. Yeah.
Ahmed Fabli, you guys mentioned that in 2027 both Hamilton and Leclerc will leave Ferrari. We don't mention, we hope, we pray about Leclerc. I mean, about Leclerc, Lewis, if he stays, it's good for him, at least another year of minting more money. Now we know that Behrman will take the first seat, but what about the second seat? Thinking about it, what are the chances Ocon gets the second seat? My view is by 2027 it will be the third year he's driving with Ferrari engine, so by that time he gets used to it. He already partnered with Behrman, so the relationship will be good for now.
I wouldn't be surprised if Behrman's in the fucking seat by January, to be perfectly honest, at this stage.
No, it's apparently the whole thing died down, which I got to know. So yeah,
I wanted to see what Hamilton could do in a Haas. I was really excited for that.
Yeah. Okay, so Ocon Behrman in 2027. What do you think, Ned?
I mean, I wouldn't be too amiss to that. I think there's other options. I think they could come crawling back to Sainz. That could be another option. Or if we find out if he's been mecha chromed or if he's just terrible, Dino Beganovic, he could be in the frame if he doesn't end up washed by the time he's 25. I don't even know how old he is now. So
Very old. Very old.
yeah, if he's older than me, then you're in junior series terms, you're old. But yeah, again, there's a couple of drivers you could talk about as getting into that Ferrari stable. Anyone who's from the age of about 20 to about 30 right now, who's not terrible, is fine. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing Antonelli. I mean, he could be in there
He's
at some
not
point
going
in his
anywhere.
career. In his career, maybe not 2027, but like. By the time he's won a championship or two, he could easily go there.
By the time he's
check the box.
achieved all that he has in his career, then he'll go to Ferrari
What, and do a Hamilton?
or Alonso or Vettel. Just name it. I mean, each one of these drivers' careers got screwed.
I'm just annoyed that Nedzo disqualified me from going to Ferrari there because he said if you're between 20 and 30 and not terrible, and I'm unfortunately 36 and terrible, so fuck, I'm screwed.
Jay, Behrman Ocon at Ferrari 27.
No, Behrman won't be there, and Ocon
Behrman
is-
would be there 100%.
Behrman will be at Ferrari, and
Yeah. So that's the question. Do you think
Oh.
Behrman?
Yeah.
Do you think Behrman and Ocon would be at Ferrari in 2027?
oh, as in Ocon to Ferrari?
Yes. Do you listen?
No, absolutely bollocks. No way Ocon's going to Ferrari. Not a chance.
I mean, looking at the
Behrman,
kind of
yes,
struggle he's
Ocon.
had, Ferrari is actually the perfect place for him to go.
Maybe, yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, Behrman, yes, Ocon, no, not a hope.
I think it's going to be. So what's going to happen next season is I think Leclerc is going, and the offers that he has on the table is from Aston, McLaren, and there's one more team, and I think it's Williams. These are the three offers
And
that
Red
he
Bull
has.
will offer him something by halfway through the season, almost definitely.
He
'cause
might,
Max
but
will be on his way out.
for now, there are three
Yeah.
teams that have offered him something, and it's basically these three: Aston Martin and McLaren and Williams. So Aston Martin depends on how the next year's car is. Secondly, Williams, because Albon's contract ends next season. Whether the extension comes in or not depends, and the Sainz Leclerc partnership would be back. The third option is probably McLaren. Oscar is probably on the way out. Seems might be on the way out. Either Oscar moves to Ferrari, or I think if either it's going to be Oscar or it's going to be George, because George is going to get shafted from Mercedes for sure. I'm 100% sure.
Yeah.
Nah, he's not going to be at Mercedes in 2027. So it's either going to be Mercedes or it's either going to be George or Oscar.
Did you see my wild theory, by the way?
No, that's not going to happen. I can guarantee you that. I can bet on you. I can bet on that.
I know, but it was a wild theory.
I would say, by the way, it'll be the most Charles Leclerc thing ever to go to three of the most successful teams in F1 history, Ferrari, McLaren and Williams, and still not win the championship.
True.
It hurts because it's true. Yeah.
I mean, his entire career at Ferrari has been the sad Charles Leclerc meme. That's
Yeah.
what he's been. Anyways, Flaky. So if Alonso does win the title next year, how many places would he gain in some people's rankings? It's basically yours. If he really if he really slaps his meat on the table and wins 2 to 3 titles, could there be an actual case for him being the GOAT?
No.
P.S. By the way, I'm not Australian, I'm Swiss. And from time to time, I pick new teams and drivers I hate or support. Keep things interesting. I do, however, hate Verstappen and his fans. So the most important thing, as always, for him is not winning next season.
We don't care.
I do like Alonso, even with all the suffering that comes with it.
We don't care about your life story, mate. Thank you. Anyway.
He asked, actually, last time.
Oh, well, I wasn't here, so I could just say that. Anyway.
Yeah.
What was the question?
If Alonso wins the championship next season, and if he goes on a 2 to 3 year title run, then where would he fall in the GOAT
Well, he's not
list?
doing 2 or 3 title runs. He's not challenging for championships at 50. He's just not. It's not happening.
He's what, 45 now?
44.
Pushing 50. He's not going to do. He might in 2026, but even then, he still wouldn't be in my top 10. Because to be in my top 10, he'd have to be better than Nelson Piquet, and he's just not.
You're
He's
picking
already
Nelson
better
Piquet
than
over
Nelson
or
Piquet.
Alonso, who has remained at his peak after 20 years since he debuted.
He's not at his peak. Don't even.
No, I mean not at his peak, but at a very, very high level, right?
He is at a very, very high level, but his level now, I'd say, is equal to what PK was in 1991, and PK had hit a concrete wall at Tamburello.
Half of the field in 1991 was pay drivers, and the other half was what?
The other half was Nelson Piquet. God damn it.
I understand your point, but PK fell off big time
Look,
from where he
we've
was.
already established Nedzo is a Lance Stroll fan, okay? So obviously this is how he's going to feel. It's fine. We just need to...
I think Alonso's good in his peak, but I think he's similar to Hamilton in the way that he's just... He's not. I wouldn't say he's inconsistent, but he's not as consistent as the true greats like.
If Alonso wins the next 3 seasons, then I'm sorry, but he jumps Hamilton in my estimations.
Maybe,
Yeah, I think so.
maybe that could be a good one. Hamilton is already perilously close to Alonso. He's ninth.
Will you admit if Alonso wins the title next season, will you say that he's better than Stroll live on air?
It depends.
Oh God.
Oh, this is going to be the best podcast cover ever. Nedzo has something to say, and we'll
Alonso is
set up a
better.
fireplace
Stroll
and
is better
everything.
than
And
Alonso.
Nedzo just comes on screen like in an old Oval Office address, you know. My fellow
Jason.
Americans.
What do you think?
What?
What do you think, Alonso? Where do you think he goes?
Well, to the retirement home.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
In terms of where he falls on the GOAT list, if he wins the championship, if he
This was saying if he wins like 3 championships.
yeah.
Oh Jesus, he's in like top 5 or 6 in my opinion, because that's fucking incredible. Yeah, but it's not going to happen.
It's
But, you know.
if he wins next season alone, that's going to be a miracle, to be honest. Because
Yeah.
I doubt I mean, again, Honda is
If
making
Alonso
waves.
finishes his career with more titles than Verstappen after and there's a 20-year gap between titles, of course he's up there on the list. That's an incredible story.
Oh,
that
yeah,
is
by the way.
literally
Yeah,
that is
yeah, yeah,
literally the F1 movie being played out in real life.
Yeah, he's basically Brad Pitt, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is essentially Brad Pitt.
Without the
I'm
Botox.
just, to be honest
But
with you, he's on my GOAT list because the fucker still has hair. That's how.
and a lot. That's bad.
Yeah,
If I could get to
one money
44 and
for
still
you,
have hair, I'd be delighted as well. You know? But
And producing
here I
kids,
am.
apparently.
Yeah,
Congratulations
well, I
on
mean,
the first kid, Fernando. First
I
that
don't
we know
know.
of.
It's
yeah.
it's not that hard. I've made one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it at 43.
Easy for a guy. It's easy. Just need a young wife.
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Moving on.
Lots of money and a young wife solves everything.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, Trang. Thank you for genuinely trying to learn my name. I hope I pronounced it correctly. I know how easily you could have brushed it off as a joke. Yeah, sure. Again, happens with me. I know my name is very tough to pronounce from people in the West. So I
Sharon
don't
Stone
try.
there on the other side
Exactly.
of the podcast.
There you go. Your pronunciation was nearly spot on. Congratulations. Okay, so DRS will be replaced by ERS overtake mode. Yeah, manual overtake mode, right? Something mom.
That's what the
Great-
ERS
great
train
name, by the
podcast next year, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Featuring open and closed front rear wing. In your opinion, this will this create a season more dominant? Again, so the question is, DRS will be replaced by MOM, the manual over whatever mode. Will this make the season better, or will it lead to a more? You can say.
I'm just worried if it's going to be called MOM, that's going to be a real problem for the podcast. Nedzo, you're part of DRS Train, right?
Yes.
That podcast. Yeah. So how are you going to call it the Mom Train podcast and not get flagged?
It'll be like a vintage kind of throwback thing. Although I will say, let's say if one team produces a battery that's bigger than everyone else's, you can hear the commentators say he's got a fat mum that he's going to deploy down this main straight.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say the Mom Train podcast is going to be very difficult to get monetized, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this week in my
Get
Mom
Frank
Train.
Sullivan on.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And he's
for
opened his mom.
2026, yeah, so for 2026, whether it will be unpredictable or one team would be dominant or anything,
We
I
don't
think
know.
it's.
I don't.
dominant.
Yeah.
One team will
We
be
might
dominant.
have.
It'll be
I
Aston
think
Martin.
if I have to make a very early prediction, it might be Mercedes versus McLaren, because I think the Mercedes power unit seems to be good. But other than that, we have no fucking clue.
But Mercedes can't build aero anymore, so.
Yeah.
But apparently, according to Mercedes Hub on F1 Twitter, they've met all of their goals and exceeded them for.
Didn't Ferrari do that in 2014?
Yeah.
It's credible, by the way. The report.
Is it?
There are some very, very positive news.
Sure, but they exceeded all their downforce targets for 2022 as well. That worked out real fucking well.
No, that's fine. But by the way, in 2022, so again, at that time I didn't have those many links. But for now, if it seems that the kind of noises that are coming from Mercedes, they are very confident, very, very confident.
Yeah,
which is surprising.
Which is terrifying because that means it's going to be an absolute shit show.
I mean, if we get
Every
George
time a
versus
team
Kimi
is
Antonelli in the
confident about
championship. By the way, if Kimi Antonelli wins the championship next season,
when is the last time a team has said we're going to be spectacular next year and has actually been spectacular?
Mercedes
next
2014.
Year?
Ross Brawn said, but again, Ross
then.
Brawn said that, so that's the thing.
Yeah, that's okay. If Newey says it, then okay, fair enough. If Ross Brawn says it, fair enough. Last time Mercedes said they were going to, Gunther Steiner. Yeah. The last time Mercedes said something like this was twofold. I think if you remember, Toto Wolff said, "Everyone will have a target on their back next year," and Lewis come. My team don't make mistakes, and it's like it turns out neither of those things are true. So and then Ferrari every single year. Next year we will be back. No, you won't.
Yeah.
So I'll believe it when I see it on track.
By the way, if Kimi wins the title next season, he'll be the youngest F1 world champion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vettel holds the record, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is why Kimi is not allowed to win next year.
Yeah. I'd rather George wins in that case.
No, fuck off.
Okay, one problem you have, Nidzo. The thing is, first of all, you've picked Behrman. He drives for Haas. And then it's at least his near future in the next few years where he has his soul crushed. It's going to be in Ferrari. You're in for a tough few years before Behrman finally realizes that Ferrari is not the place
He'll
to be.
be fine. There's always alcoholism.
Yeah. Okay, why do so many people perceive Lando so negatively, even to the extent that when he wins the championship they post comments like underwhelming, undeserved, and what factors contribute to his reaction?
Lando bad?
It's because I was just about to hop in and say it's because he's gay.
Right. Well, we've reached that end of the podcast and I genuinely need to leave in 5 minutes, so let's do one more question.
Oh god.
And I mean, it was a fair response as well.
Yeah.
I would love that response in Parliament in England. You sir, I'd like to ask why you think that this is because you're gay. That would be the best thing ever. Especially if you're an Irish guy. Yeah.
I'll give the more serious answer. The thing is, ultimately, the Lewis Hamilton fan base and the Verstappen fan base, they hate him. And they are
so he can be quite cocky for no reason.
He can be quite cocky as well, yeah.
But that's because he's just such a brilliant driver.
Who's better, Lando or Jensen?
Lando.
Jensen.
But are you talking primes or are you talking averages?
Overall.
I think prime Jensen Button walks Lando, and I think I definitely pick it. I definitely pick Vodafone era, BAR era, McLaren Jensen over any version of Lando.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to say Lando just because I wind up Jensen so often in this podcast.
Yeah. Okay. Jason, wait. So, how do McLaren improve papaya rules next year if they have a front running car?
Get rid of them.
Remove them.
Exactly. One defense I've seen of Lewis this season. Okay, so this is from Luke Wilson, by the way. One defense I've seen of Lewis this season and in other seasons is why would he push the car in 8th if the best result is 5th?
What?
Basically, what he's saying is the car is shit. So why would he even push or make an effort? Because ultimately
you're
you
still
get
supposed to deliver. You're still supposed to because you're being paid to.
Yeah,
you're paid.
Simple as that.
Here's the thing: Lewis Hamilton is paid around $1.6 million per week by Ferrari, and he's not paid just to turn up and smile for the photos. He's paid to do what he does on track.
If it's the difference between pushing 99% for P6 and pushing 100% for P5, I can sort of understand it, and you don't want to push that last 1% in case you crash. But yeah, you want to be pushing at a very high level every single week.
Yeah.
Sure. Why would you keep bother to drive if the car is only built for Max anyway?
Yeah.
Why bother showing up? You know?
Yeah.
And sure, at the same point, like they're putting everything towards Lando, so why should Oscar show up? Like, what's the point, you know? And why does Leclerc bother to perform? Sure, the car's shit anyway. Because you're paid to do it. You're a racing driver. If that's your attitude, fuck off. Get out of the sport. What's the point?
Yeah, okay. Why did RB keep Liam Lawson? Logically, there's no upside in keeping him. He's not young either. Why not gamble on a rookie alongside Lindblad like Dunn, Marty, or Fornaroli? Marty was a bit less impressive. Dunn, they fucked up. Fornaroli, again, I think maybe deserved an opportunity. I think Lawson is, why Lawson has been kept there is because he's a known benchmark. Yeah. They want to see how Lindblad is. Yeah.
Yeah. And they can sell him for some money like Gasly after a while.
Sell him?
Yep.
Great
choice. We're not going there.
Guys.
We're not going there.
Yeah. Okay, so CPB 1998. I think it's the last one. So verdict, it was good for the good. Okay.
Sorry, what?
So there's no question here. He gave his own views, but yeah,
it's good. Sharon Stone there turns into ChatGPT sometime and just starts scanning things.
Yeah.
So
okay, cool. So Dane Lua has a few questions. Dane, I'd answer them myself on the comments. Yeah, cool. Okay, we're done.
We'll have more time next week. I'm sorry, this week I'm just a bit under pressure. But yeah, thank you, Josh, for joining. Last words, Josh? Very good.
Josh.
And no, seriously, thank you, Josh, for joining. Apologies about the Wi-Fi issues. Always a pleasure. Please do come back. Yeah. Nedzo, thank you so much for coming on as well, obviously. Always a pleasure. Welcome anytime. Always good. And I'm looking forward to the Oliver Behrman. I'm looking forward to the Mom Train Stroll podcast next season. Yeah. Should be good. Obviously, we'll put a link to your stuff in the description and so on below. Yes. And yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody. Yep. If you're not offended, don't subscribe.